Hi everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell. We are back again today, and our guest is Michael Bodel. Michael is a dance artist. He's a performer and he's a scholar. His projects are wide-ranging explorations that integrate choreography, movement, curiosity, and discovery. He's just completed a tour of 5 premier performances around the state entitled The Institute for Folding, a cardboard choreography of human knowledge. We're going to hear more about that. Also, Michael's work in communications, marketing, and design brought him to the Hopkins Center for the Arts as Director of External Affairs. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. I have to say that I saw your performance when it was in Putney and was so blown away by it that I just had to get you on the show. It was really fun. It was really exciting to see. And you've just come off of this tour, so how is it feeling for you?
Wonderful. I was really lucky to be supported by the Vermont Dance Alliance, and they provided a residency opportunity, which is really rare and was really fulsome in what it offered. They helped me develop the work. Then they helped put together a 5-venue tour around the state. So we were all the way up in the Northeast Kingdom, in Burlington, and then down here in Putney. And the tour ended in White River Junction.
And did you notice a difference in audiences?
For sure. I think there are strong dance communities sort of peppered throughout the state. So it was really nice that the tour included spots throughout, because we were sort of within 30 miles of some dance community, whether it's in Waterbury or the Upper Valley or Burlington or down here. The way the tour came together, the venues that we used were all over the place. So we started the performance at Middlebury College with a gorgeous state-of-the-art dance theater space. And then we also had a show that was upstairs in the Congregational Church with folding chairs and just a few lights. So part of the challenge and the opportunity working on Institute for Folding and in general with touring around a rural place is adapting to the different venues.
Yes. And also, because you worked with 2 other people on this performance, so getting together, right, to practice and train and do all of that is, I would think, also a challenge.
Yeah, I think the logistics of what you can produce in a show and who you're working with sometimes limit things, but artists always need limitations, right? And so if you think about them more as creative structures, then that does inform what you create. In the case of this, it meant that I was working with Caitlin Morgan and Hannah Satterley, and we were able to rehearse more for longer chunks of time. We would meet in Waterbury or in Barrie and have 4-hour rehearsals, right? We weren't doing an hour and a half on Tuesday night. Bigger intensives. They were down here at the Putney School for 8 hours, right? And that's when really you can put a piece together. And that was partly because our geographic separation, they're both Burlington based, but it also affected the work. And I think those limitations are fine. The composer that I worked with was sometimes at Dartmouth, sometimes in New York City. We were working on Zoom. We were finding times to be together. And but that's the nature of the process. And I would say for the Institute for Folding, the entire set is a huge stack of cardboard sheets. And that, not coincidentally, was sized so that it could fit in my car to get from place to place, right? And that made it also possible to tour. So these things that we think of as limitations are sometimes just creative structures that we build around.
Let's talk a little bit, because we're here, about the Institute for Folding, because in looking into your work and finding out a little bit more about it, you have such a nonlinear approach, I guess, and you're interdisciplinary, so you've got a lot of different things going on. The sheer physicality of that piece, and I have a feeling that might carry through most of your work as well. I was just so impressed by that, and how the movements that you had to accommodate in order to bring this forth. So does this start for you? And of course, this is the kind of question people always ask artists. what your inspiration is and what was it? What was the germination of, let's just say, this project?
This project started with a pretty clear idea that we as humans accumulate knowledge, and that knowledge gets built on top of each other in layers. But sometimes those layers are wrong, right? Like something about how leeches can cure diseases might be wrong, or some assumption about what women should be in society might be wrong, or something about the way atoms function, right? But it doesn't change the fact that knowledge gets built in layers. Right. And I was interested in using cardboard as a metaphor for those layers, but in a playful way.
Yeah.
And just thinking about that stack of knowledge and how we as humans are sort of wrestling with the whole stack and the weight of everything we know, but also what happens when some of it is incorrect. Right. It's like we're building a pyramid on something that's a little bit shaky.
Yeah, yeah.
And what does that mean now as there's increasing mistrust in facts that we thought were facts for a long time, and new facts are coming in to place themselves in our social conscience. I thought that cardboard would be a good metaphor for this because it's layered, right? It's something that has multiple plies, and some of them are undulating and shaky, and others are more rigid.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, great, so that's going to be the metaphor. Put that to the side. Now let's just think about what can happen with cardboard. And that just becomes a choreographic experiment.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're going into every rehearsal thinking, this section is supposed to be communicating such and such about the scientific revolution. Some of it has some clear ideas that are sort of top-down ideas, but others just come from an investigation of our bodies and the medium, which in this case were these 4x7 sheets of cardboard.
So you use different kinds of physical things in your productions, using them as metaphors, but you also use text, you've used sound and puppets, and my favorite, fragrance, right? Like, I love that. So how do you come up with these? Like, what is it in you that wants to relate in that way?
I was drawn to movement as a dance artist early on, and movement being my primary art form, because it has that when you're an audience member, you're feeling something. First and foremost, I'm touching my microphone. First and foremost, you're feeling something, not thinking something. You might think things and have associations, that's wonderful, but there's this initial feeling. Yes. So a lot of the movement that I do is aimed at creating that kind of experience in the viewer. And that's why I also pull in things that are sensorial.
Yeah.
So large images, whether that's with puppet forms or fabric or big sheets of cardboard, or things like scent that just literally permeate your experience.
Yeah.
So I've struggled to ever just create a dance just with moving bodies. It's always dance ampersand.
All of this is, of course, your expression, but you're bringing that expression to the audience, right? And these are some of your tools to do that. This
is sort of my artistic credo. I think there's a great role for having an idea and then trying to make it physical and communicate it through movement and images. Yeah. But there's also a role for nonlinear things that come about through playing in the studio and researching and exploring with bodies and objects. And so I hope that my work has some of the great ideas and vectors that come from the original concept, but also some of the wild card, surprising, fizzy things that come just from playing.
Right.
So I think about that, like research and play as both being essential ingredients in making a dance theater work.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's so interesting is the embodiment of this. Like we can go and see a play or listen to an opera or go to all of these things, but to have dance is different in that way, in that it's so physical. And for you, how do you stay in shape? Do you do other things?
I'm terrible at actually doing exercises in that structured way. It's awful. Other people are really good at that. I need to be in rehearsal or working towards something.
Yeah.
So times when we are actively rehearsing and I'm passionate about what we're making or frustrated by needing to figure something out, then I'm moving a lot and getting in good shape. And times when I don't have that, ooh.
Staring out the window, getting
Exactly.
ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I did hear that you were very good on the squash court.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Either I need to be working on a project that gets me in the studio or chasing a ball around and being competitive. But I'm not going to go off and run or do, Pilates movements on my own.
Or do a marathon.
Yeah, sad truth.
Yeah. And so when you were a kid, what were your influences? How'd you get into dance?
I was around art a lot. I had some wonderful art teachers that got me thinking really expansively about interdisciplinarity. So I feel like in high school, I was doing performative paintings and making nature art and making very, very bad dance films. But I didn't start my formal dance training until I was in college.
Oh, wow.
And that was, I came at it more from a theatrical side of things, and then developed the medium amount of rigor that I have in terms of my dance technique came much later on. So it started more with play and images and honestly seeing work, right? Like that's what inspired me. It wasn't coming through a studio. It was seeing a dance company, seeing Martha Clark or Pina Bausch or Cirque du Soleil and going, whoa, wow. I want to make images like that. I was really fortunate to spend some time at Bread and Puppet they've had many wonderful heydays, and this was like one of their little mini renaissances, and I think we're in one now, but they're just such a prolific company, and were really formative in terms of how I think about the way that you can just churn out work and use it as a way to engage community. So I spent 2 summers with them, learning how to do both political theater, mobilize large numbers of people, build stuff, be resourceful in reusing stuff, and sort of have life and art be braided together. So they're a big influence.
I'll bet. And you've incorporated puppets also into the work that you've been doing now.
Yeah. I think Bread and Puppet really helped me understand how the power of large scale images, and that things can just be put alongside each other and they don't need to be fully explained. Right. That's the beauty in their work is like there's a huge mother puppet and there's a goat and there's some soldiers. Right? And you can make some associations. So I think when I am thinking about something like the Institute for Folding, there are certain areas in that project where I'm trying to say, hey, this is about the flat earth movement. And other areas where I just want to show you some images. They might mean something to me, but I'm more interested in leaving you as the audience member to make associations.
Right. And that's almost subliminal kind of information, right? For the audience. And, Sandglass Theater also does very similar kind of work.
Yeah, and interdisciplinary work, right? And one of the beauties of puppetry that I've learned through Bread and Puppet and Sandglass and working with Caribbean puppeteers and Basil Twist is with when you're working with objects, scale becomes on the table. With bodies, I'm 6'2", always and forever, right? But with puppetry, the world that you're showing can be this big, and it can instantly become giant, which is exciting.
Well, it's really interesting because the audience scales itself to what's being presented, right? I think of Sandglass with the Crankies. And there's so many people who are doing Crankies now, and that kind of scale.
I think when a work is well crafted, then you will bring the audience into the scale where the action's happening. And I hope, for example, with Institute for Folding, we have some things that are large sequences with lighting and panels moving and crossing and a big stage image. And then there's a moment at the end when we're all lying together very close, just saying words, and it's very small. And that kind of cinematic, like zooming in and zooming out, I think can be really effective.
I noticed that in seeing the Institute for Folding as well, the variety of not only positions, but your connectedness, or disconnectedness.
Yeah.
And also how you crafted things like the podium, which is really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of artistry. Very simple, in the way it looks, but, you thought it all through. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'll say one inspiration in terms of scale that I've always loved is I can't remember what Pina Bausch piece, but there are these huge stage images. This might have been Volmond with a huge waterfall in the middle, and the dancers, 20 dancers wearing like formal wear, big images. And then there's one section where a man and a woman are way downstage, and she has a lighter and she's lighting it, and he's holding his finger in it for as long as he can before it burns him. And this is shown in a 1,200 seat opera house, right?
Wow.
But the action, she does such a great job of like focusing in. It's like it's high drama.
Yeah.
And it's two people and a tiny lighter.
So great.
And then it becomes big again, right?
Right, it's that compression and the relationship between the two, expansion and compression. When you were in college, you studied dance and
astronomy,
of course, because they go together.
I was quite a good dance major and a sort of weak astronomy major. But yeah, they're both physics, different lenses. Right out of college, I did some works that were really tied to astronomy, something about a German astronomer that made some discoveries. I made a puppet piece about him. I made something that was about the likelihood of getting hit by a meteorite and chance encounters. But now I think the connection is more, where are we in the world?
Yeah.
Who are we? What is matter? What is life? And that's where sort of between physics and that's where I get into puppetry a little bit with objects that are how things move. I'm very interested in, whether it's a body or a kinetic choreographic object. You
talked a little bit about our local dance ecology, which I think is a really interesting topic. I like the way you phrase that as well, because we've got a lot of dance people in the state. We got Sarah Coffey and Hannah. I'm sorry, what's Hannah's last name?
Hannah Satterley.
Yes. Hannah Dennison.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And the Field Center in Rockingham, Vermont. I think that there's a lot more going on than we're aware of.
Yeah.
And so can you talk a little bit about how you envision our local dance ecology?
Sure. Yeah, I think that there are amazing artists peppered throughout and people that move through the state. So more and more, I think, in the creative economy of this country, cosmopolitan areas have serious stresses that those artists are looking to escape from.
Yeah, interesting.
Financial stresses, space stresses, opportunity stresses. And a lot of them are coming out to the more rural areas to create work, to be. Some of them are moving here and not moving back, which has happened for a long time. So I think that the dance ecology here is folks that have been here for a long time, folks that have come and realized that there's opportunities to have a barn and make it into a performance space, and they can rehearse whenever they want. And and a really vibrant part of is artists that are coming up for a week residency, like as happens with these residency programs, whether it's at the Field Center or prior at Vermont Performance Lab or at the Hopkins Center for the Arts, right? And those people come through and they get inspired and they can share. So I think there's a really vibrant ecosystem kind of hiding in plain sight. I'll say that the challenge is with bringing work to fruition fully, right? Because we don't have a population, big population center where we can say, run a show for a week and sell out a space. Funding is a real challenge. Just dispersed communities that are spread out. It's super rural. So my hope is that increasingly we can have more full, ambitious performances happen here in Vermont. Not just artists like myself or artists that come up to work that create stuff here and then show it down in New York, show it in Boston.
Right. And, I think I see that happening, but, as I know you do too, it's, again, Sandglass does the festival, the Puppet Festival in the fall.
Yep.
And the Brattleboro Literary Festival, there are, and Burlington has a whole, we have the Jazz Center as well. There are so many places for the arts in Vermont. And it's, I think, one thing that this last year or so has compelled us to look at is how our power is in our community, our own community.
Yeah.
And I think I see that really happening in Brattleboro. So many things happening in the arts, but in all aspects. So to me, that's the great hope of what you're talking about as well, is to realize we're part of that ecology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as funding at the federal level and in terms of foundations as well has either dried up or gone elsewhere towards other humanitarian needs.
Yeah.
We need private philanthropy, but we also just need folks to show up. Right? Like that, that's the thing. If you, Netflix will always be there, but if you can, if we as a community can just show up, that means a lot, right? Because then there's ticket sales, sponsors can come involved, other presenters might say, hey, they got 250 people to that thing. I should do that at my place. And then all of a sudden we have more full-fledged performances that we can count on happening in Vermont, as opposed to just happening down in cities.
Yeah, because they'll be supported. And that's also part of your day job as well.
Yes.
Like getting the word out that way. Yeah. Do you enjoy that part?
I do. I love that I get to work in the arts with my day job and my creative job. There was a lot of different ways that dance artists make ends meet, from trying to go the 501c3 route and form a company that is supported, to teaching yoga, to bartending, to being a proofreader on the side, right? And it happened that I made the decision to stay in the arts, and that's how I've been in arts communication and for about 20 years now.
Really, 20 years? Holy cow. Michael, in addition to showing up, as we were talking about, for performances, it is about getting folks out the door. A lot of it is just about that. And I think that, people are looking for places where they can help. There are a million places that need extraordinary help. But in terms of the arts in particular, it really is buying that $20 ticket, which would be $100 or $150 in a city, right? And to realize that we can really see these amazing things in our state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that how you got to Vermont? Was it through Bread and Puppet, or?
Bread and Puppet, an affinity to the landscape, for sure. Yeah,
really?
And had been down in New York City with my family and was looking for a place that would allow a little more feeling of freedom, connection to nature, and the ability to work and have a workshop in my barn and things like that.
Yeah. And did you grow up in a rural area?
No, suburban.
Suburban.
Yeah, which I'm sort of, is the opposite of my vibe now. I love the city. I love the culture that you can get there.
Right.
I love the energy. And then I love, stacking wood and working with friends for long hours in the studio building something that's really hard to do in the city. Yeah,
it is hard to do. And you can get around a lot easier too.
Yes.
You put more miles on your car, however.
Well, and the landscape, I think one of the works that I have on the back burner is another outdoor pageant. And that kind of work where the landscape is one of the lead dancers in the piece really can only happen in a beautiful place like Vermont.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you've got some things in your pipeline coming up, or things that you've been thinking about doing. You want to talk a little bit about those? Because when you talk about pageantry, I think that's on your radar a lot.
Yeah. So in the early 1900s, there was a really vibrant American pageant movement. It was strange. It was civic. It was cool. It was communities coming together to create things that were in public, sometimes in nature, like in fields, sometimes in the town square. And it was not just amateur. It had professional artists directing it or composing music for it, but it also involved bodies of all kinds of people. It involved people playing themselves. So, of course, this movement was fraught with problems of representation, and there could have been no Native or Indigenous people in the whole pageant, right? Or it could be people depicting the Asian immigrants in a way where they themselves were not Asian. So it was really problematic. But what's inspiring to me is that was this movement that is kind of the way I'm seeing a lot of theater here in the States, at least, looping back towards being more participatory, more about an experience, more local, in that it's just rooted in the stories of an area. So I'm interested in rejuvenating that kind of pageantry, but doing it in a way that's a little more playful, ambitious, and maybe a little ethical.
Yes, right.
So doing larger works in the natural environment where there are themes that come through. Some of the themes are global themes and some are hyper-local themes. And an audience gets to both witness the action, but also move through the stories that they're already a part of as a Putney resident or as somebody who's worked on an orchard or somebody that's a dairy farmer.
That's exciting. I can see that. I can see the visual of that. It's a very cool idea. And I didn't know about that, having an historical context.
Yeah, I sort of want to do like a American pageantry 2.0 in a way that's not linear and trying to sort of sell some version of America at all, but taking that idea of something that's participatory and experiential and like, come out with your kids. You can be part of it or not. This is Bread and Puppet does this work beautifully, but it doesn't need to be in that aesthetic. This would be in a very different aesthetic. But
it would, like a town like Putney is such a perfect size for that as well. To have it be much more of a community endeavor where everybody has a place and everybody can be part of it, however that is.
Yeah, and we've got the landscape to set it in.
Yes, we do. And historical reenactments, does that kind of tie in with that?
Yes, I want to do some more historical anti-reenactments or anti-historical reenactments. I won't spoil it, but yes.
I love that. Okay, well, let's leave that image. No, that's very cool to think about. With all of the exploring and expressing and questioning that you've done over these years, are you finding any underlying or common threads?
I think this may be a cheat of an answer because it's not a subject that's a common thread, but I think the reality is that if you pick anything to research and investigate, it can become about many other things, right? If you say, I'm doing a dance about milk production, right? Or something, right? Or I'm doing a dance about the Austin School, or whatever it is, right? That just starts as a kernel. That can become a lens. And for me, sometimes that kernel could be, I'm doing a dance that involves some bags of grain. Where is this going to go, right? So for me, I think that's the main learning that I've done is don't be too precious about saying this piece, I'm going to draw a circle around what this is. It's more like take any subject, and if you research it diligently and playfully, it can become something related to that, but also very different.
Right. You've got a seed that you're starting from and expanding out from there. That's a great answer. That's a really good answer.
The projects that have been more successful have been the ones where I'm flexible about what they become. And I can sort of be clear-eyed about like, well, I know I had this idea, but it's not really working, or it's just not really good theater, right? It's not resonating with people. So I have definitely learned that having steps along the way is really vital, like little workshop performances. Because the second you show something, like for example, for the Institute for Folding, we got to show a 25 minutes at the Junction Dance Festival at White River Junction, halfway through our process. And it was so great to show that bit and be like, to realize, hey, that section, people love that. And that felt good performing. So this section is, I don't even know if we want that. Like that wasn't resonating. It didn't feel, it felt out of place. So that's something I've learned, is that even if, that you shouldn't be too precious with what you're creating, just find opportunities to show it, share it, and then be bold about what stuff isn't working and where the piece can go.
And do you feel it in your body? Is that kind of your North Star?
I think so, yeah. I think one of the hard parts with choreography in particular is that some stuff will not work out. Other stuff might work out, but you need to put in a ton of energy into making it solid. And then you think, actually, this section does work. I think the role of the director or creator is to say, do we think down the road, the section isn't good now, but down the road, do we still see that this could be really strong before we invest 12 hours of trying to make it strong?
Yeah, and what, $200 in cardboard?
Right. Yeah, that was a bit of a leap, was just deciding how many sheets do I actually need? And
manipulate and maneuver.
Yes.
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, in the audience, you feel that. You feel that you are, really, you have to really move with these objects.
Well, I wanted this piece is about human knowledge, so I didn't really want it to be that clean. Right?
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel a little bit messy and muscular and frustrating.
Yeah. So when you're at the end of like this kind of a tour, what kind of satisfaction do you take away from that? And also maybe a corollary question would be, do you think about doing it again in the future?
Yeah. Definitely doing it again in the future. I look forward to all the funding coming in for that to happen. No, this was a wonderful first run, and I hope to have a chance to do it. And it fits on a trailer, and it's 3 of us, so it's tourable.
Tourable. Yeah.
It feels like, first and foremost, honestly, we have a long collaborative process. This was with me, Hannah, Caitlin as performers, and Rodrigo Martinez as a composer. And we're just creating work for ourselves, first of all, right? That's the most important group. We get in a room together, we make something from nothing. And then when you're performing and get to share the work in public, there are those select people that you just either get a good vibe from, or you know them and you know that they're coming to the performance and you care about their opinion.
Yes.
And to me, honestly, those are the people that hearing from them afterwards, and not just compliments, but getting to see what resonated and talk through the ideas or what they were moved by is really rewarding. Yeah,
it's rewarding, and also I think it's great for audiences to remember to do that, to give feedback, and to let artists of whatever genre know how they were moved or experienced it. Yeah, it's information.
It's information. It's been really moving. We've gotten a lot of emails and Instagram messages from folks, which has been really nice.
That's great. Well, Michael, we look forward to whatever you do next.
Thank you. Me too.
It'll be exciting to see. So keep us on your radar. We'll keep you on our radar.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Thanks to everybody out there. It just makes you want to get up and dance, doesn't it? And go see something that Michael has produced. So stay on the radar of Michael Bodel and any production that he's in. And also, again, our communities are small, but they are mighty. And keep in mind to always go and see things, go and listen to things, be in the audience, be part of the audience, and let folks know how you felt about them. So thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.